The topic I have chosen today is fundamentals of Vedic science and spirituality. In Arya Jagat, and when it comes to the topic of science, we have very wonderful, very great, very profound speakers in the field of spiritual discourse and also in the field of how the Vedas help us in our practical life. We have very great speakers in that. I consider myself dust in front of such great speakers. But my effort today is on another aspect, the aspect of Vedic science, which I have felt while I was studying the Vedas, that this is one area, whenever we speak about Vedic science, we in Arya Samaj say, yes, there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of science in Vedas. But within our circle, it is well understood, it is well accepted. But when we go out of our circle, there is less receptivity in maybe that field. If we go talk to scientists, if we go talk to others, they would probably say, it's not science, it's pseudoscience. So this is a humble effort, a sincere effort to try to set some fundamentals of Vedic science from the Shastras. So that's why the topic, fundamentals of Vedic science. And we see that all Vedic science culminates into Vedic spirituality. So that is how we have both in the same sentence, which most of people will not agree. Science and spirituality are devoid of each other. They can never be together in one breath or one sentence. But this is an effort, let's see. So why do we need science? Vedas are spiritual. Why do we need science? When we do our Sandhyopasana mantra, the Aghamarshana mantra, we say Surya Chandrama Saudhata Yatha Purvama Kalpayat Divam Cha Prithivim Cha Antarikshamato Swaha. So when we do a prayer, why do we need to talk about the sun, about the moon, about the Dyuloka, the Prithvi Loka, the Antariksha Loka? A prayer is for prosperity, for good intelligence, and all these things. But why do we need to talk? We may not find this in the prayers of other religions. But in our prayers, why do we have to chant it every day? And we talk about the Dyuloka, the Prithvi Loka, and the Antariksha Loka over there. Similarly, in the Hiranyagarbha Sukta, Ishvara Stuti Prarthanopasana, Hiranyagarbha Samavartatagre Bhutasya Jata Patireka Asit, Sadadhara Prithivim Dhyamuteyamam Kasmai Devaya Havishavidhema. Even here we say that, see the great Lord, He upholds the Prithvi and the Dyuloka. So if we are chanting of all of these lokas in our prarthanas, then maybe we also need to understand what is the real meaning behind this. And we know it's quite simple. When you say the Prithvi Loka, Antariksha Loka, Dyuloka, primordially we have three lokas, three realms. When we say Prithvi Loka, we obviously know it is the earth. But in the Vedas, Prithvi Loka is often referred to in Bahuvachana also. So that means it's not only one Prithvi Loka, it is a lot of Prithvi Lokas. So basically all non-luminous celestial bodies are considered Prithvi Loka. Even if you look at modern science, planets around the sun and exoplanets all around other suns, they have categorized that into three basic forms. That is the rocky planets, the gaseous planets, the icy planets. If we come back to the Vedics, we talk about the Parthiva Tattva, then the icy planets as the Apas Tattva, and then the Tejas Tattva. So there are many categories here. I will not dwell deep into this point presently. Then we go to the Dyuloka. What is the Dyuloka? Simple, it is the sun. Now again, the Dyuloka is referred many a times in Bahuvachana. So that means it's not only one sun. We are talking about many stars. Even modern science talks about basically 7 types of stars and many types. We also talk about the Dvadasha Adityas, the 12 type of stars. So when you say Dyuloka, it is a combination of all stars, that is the stellar realm. And then when we talk about the Antariksha Loka, it is the space in between. So what is the space in between? Um, it is the empty space. But then, if you look into modern science and the Shastras, they say it's not empty. There are a lot of molecular clouds, there are a lot of dust, nebulas, all of those things, what we call Vritra and Megha in the Vedas. They're all part of the Antariksha Loka. So we go ahead. Now we see what does the Rig Veda say about these three lokas. Suryo no divaspatu, vato antarikshat, agnirnaha parthivebhya. So it refers to the same three lokas, the Dyuloka, the Antariksha Loka, the Prithvi Loka. But interestingly, it adds three deities respectively to them. It says, from the Dyuloka, may the Surya, may the sun protect me. And from Antariksha Loka, may the deity of Antariksha, that is Vayu, protect me. And may the deity of Prithvi Loka, that is Agni, protect me. So they are talking about three deities in three worlds, respectively. So let us go a little further. I'm quoting from the text because the whole the talk that I would like to present is based on these texts. So all my quotations will be majorly only in the beginning. Now I'll go a little quick. They say Shatapatha Brahmana says, in the beginning, that is at the time of creation, at the dawn of creation, it was Prajapati, the Adi Prajapati was one and only. He desired that let me begin creation. Sa ashramyata, sa tapotapyata. Then he did hard work, shram kiya. Then tapotapyata, he did penance. Tasmat shranta tepana tayo loka asrijyanta. From his hard work and penance, three worlds came into being. Prithvi, Antariksh, Dew. We see that's the same thing quoted in the other parts also. Then it goes further and says the Adi Prajapati brooded over, or he baked these three worlds. And after baking these three worlds, heating these three worlds, whatever we could say, उसने उन तीनों लोगों को भी तपाया. उसको तपाने के बाद उन तीनों लोगों से क्रमेण respectively तीन देवताएं निकले. Agni, yoyam pavate is Vayu, Surya is the sun. We have seen that again correlates with the Vedic mantra. So it's not a one-off reference I'm bringing. We can see in the culmination of all the Shastras, this trinity is available. So the Shatapatha Brahmana goes further. It says, further these three devatas are again heated or brooded over or baked. I didn't get a proper word for usko tapaya, so I'm using the word baked. So the Prajapati baked these three devatas, and from the three devatas came the three Vedas. From the Agni came the Rig Veda, from the Vayu came the Yajurveda, from the Surya came the Samaveda. Now, interestingly, we talk about four Vedas. We know there are four Vedas. But my submission here is we should maybe not get confused with the four Vedas that we have as form of compositions here that have come from the four Rishis. These are the three knowledge systems. So if you look across the Vedic lore, when it comes to compilations, there are four Vedas. But when it comes to knowledge systems, there are three knowledge systems. So the three knowledge systems have been compiled into four compilations. So there is no disagreement between what we say as the three Vedas and the four Vedas that later came into composition. This is even before Manushya Srishti. This is at the dawn of civilization. So humans had not yet started. But the knowledge systems existed even pre-human formation. So from the Agni deity, it says, came the knowledge of Rig. From the Vayu deity came Yajurveda. From the Surya deity came Samaveda. And then they go further and say, even the three Vedas are again baked. And after baking the three Vedas, come the three Mahavyaharitis. From the Rig Veda came Bhu. From the Yajurveda came Bhuva. From the Swaha came Samaveda. So we see that there is a trinity forming, and this trinity has been explained in a proper respective categorical form. We go to the Manusmriti. they go even a little more further. They say akaram cha, ukaram cha, makaram cha prajapati. The Adi Prajapati, even the three syllables of Omkara, he has extracted that respectively from the three Vedas. So we can everywhere see they talk about the three Vedas, that is the three knowledge forms. And same way Bhur Bhuva Swaha, which was also said before. And again they say, they go even more further and they say, Tribhya evato vedebhya padam padam ududahat taditi richo asya savitriyaha parameshti prajapatihi. Prajapati Parameshti extracted the three lines. We all know Gayatri Mantra. How many lines does the Gayatri Mantra have? 4 lines. Anybody else? 3 lines. Anybody else? Okay. Now when we talk about the Gayatri Mantra, there are 3 parts. I'm not talking about lines yet. There are 3 parts of a Gayatri Mantra. The first one is Om. Om is the first one. Then the second part is Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha. That's also clear. Then the third part is the actual Gayatri Mantra, the Savitri Mantra. Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So we have 3 parts of Gayatri Mantra, which is very important. Om. Then the 3 Mahavyakritis, Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Then the 3 lines, that is Tatsaviturvarenyam 1, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi 2, and Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodaya 3. So even these 3 lines of Gayatri have been associated with this trinity. So now we need to understand, is this an ad hoc trinity? Some type of 3 things just put together? But the Shastras don't seem to be saying so. They seem to be categorizing them into 3 proper categories. And even the uma of Omkara are again categorized there. So it means there should be something here. So they say with the Omkara, along with the 3 Mahavyakritis, he who does japa of Gayatri, he gets all the punya of the Vedas. So the Gayatri mantra becomes the Gayatri Mahamantra when it is added first with Om, then with the 3 Mahavyakritis, then the 3 lines, then it becomes the Gayatri Mahamantra, and then we get the punyas, the japa of that, the penance of that, the practice of that, we achieve the punya of the Vedas. The same thing is said in another shloka, along with the Omkara, along with the 3 Mahavyakritis, these 3 lines of Gayatri, we should consider them as the path, as the gateway to Brahmalokam. And we had such a beautiful recitation of all our children over here. That was a wonderful recitation of this Gayatri Mantra. So if we just look at it, I'll go quick. We have talked about the 3 lokas, Prithvi, Antariksha, Dyu. Then we have spoken about the 3 deities, respectively. That is Agni, Vayu, Aditya. And then we have spoken about the 3 Vedas, 3 knowledge systems, Rik, Yajus, Sama. We have spoken about the 3 lines of Gayatri, and they are all extracts. Prithvi का जो सार है वो अग्नि है, अग्नि का सार ऋक है, ऋक का सार तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम है, तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम का सार भू है, सिमिलरली फॉर अंतरिक्ष, एंड इसी प्रकार अ उ म. So we now arrive at the 3 pillars or 3 pyramids which form the basic of fundamentals. My understanding is this is the master key. If we have understood this, then we can start getting into the Vedas. We can start understanding this because this is connected with our whole Sandhyopasana. We talk about Prithvi, Antariksha, Dyu as we saw there. Then we say Bhuragnaye, Pranaya Swaha, Bhuvar Vayave, Apanaya Swaha, Swaradityaya, Vyanaya Swaha. We chant these mantras. We chant all of these. So they are all very closely interconnected. And we have seen what is earth, what is sun, what is space. What is the Prithvi, Antariksha, Dyu is clear. Now let us try to understand what is Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, and Swaha. It's very clear. Prithvi ke Adhishtatri Devata is Agni. Antariksha's presiding deity is Vayu. And Dyuloka's presiding deity is Aditya. Now, so fire, wind, and sun. It's quite clear. But let us try to put a little logic into this. If this is science, it's supposed to be logical, isn't it? There should be logic in this. Now, do we find proper logic in this? How can sun be the deity of sun? Simple, we can say sun is stellar realm. So sun is the deity of the stellar realm. Okay, we can find the explanation for that. But then wind in the space, we all know, do we have air or wind in the space? What do we have? We have particle winds. Okay, okay, so we can find out something. Haji? Sutratma Vayu. Okay, fine. So now we need to understand, or we are now arriving. We are arriving. So I'm happy that it's all coming from you. That when you say Vayu, we should not consider the air here, because obviously it can never happen. And if a very small, I think even students can see this, and even students can find this. So, so that means Vayu is not wind or air here. It is something else. What it is, we had a very beautiful answer, wonderful. And then fire. Okay, fire we all know. But there's a doubt over here. Why is fire considered the god or deity of Prithvi Loka? Where is fire the most? Where do we see a big fire? In the space? Okay. In the spacer, I have a doubt, because if we have to take a rocket, we have to take our own oxygen with us. So fire doesn't burn in the space. So then if you go further to the sun, that's a huge fireball. Massive, massive, massive fireball. If it is so, then again there is a disconnect, or there is something illogical here. Then why is fire stated to be the deity or the Adhishtatri Devata of Prithvi? Fire should be here. So somehow there doesn't seem to be some logic in this. So I was a student while studying. I'd come from a convent education, a proper convent missionary school. And then I landed up in a Gurukulam. And then I studied this. I said, no, there's something wrong. See, I was a student. You should forgive me for me. You should forgive me for thinking so. I was a student. I said, no, there's something wrong. Our science is a little more better, is a little more well organized. Okay. So there should be some other more meaning for this. This is when, if you look back at our same, our Mula Mantra, it talks about Jyotihi. It says there are 3 Jyotis. That means Agni, Vayu, Aditya are considered 3 Jyotis. So it is not the normal elements. They are basically combustion, fusion, and radiation. Because there is no fire in the sun. We have said that there is fire in the sun. But actually there is absolutely no fire in the sun. Students of science would agree with me. What happens in the sun is fusion. Because for fire, we need oxygen. So there is no oxygen in the, oxygen is only on earth. So that means, and that is why they have been called the 3 Jyotis. So now we come across the meaning of Agni, Vayu, Aditya, combustion, radiation, and fusion. I'll be a little quick. I have been given now time. Okay. So the scientific terminology is redox reaction, solar wind. See, even modern science says wind. That is solar wind, cosmic wind that I heard also before. Geomagnetic storm. Even modern science uses the word storm or wind for Vayu. So now we can start to understand and appreciate what are the meanings of these Vedic deities. So chemical reactions, nuclear reactions, then, so basically the 3 deities are the 3 forms of thermal evolutions. I'll be a little quicker now. Now, why are these three deities important? If you look at the Vedic lore, all the devatas, there are some 40, 50 devatas in the Vedas, they have been very clearly categorized here. So that means if I want to find the meaning of Indra, I should find it somewhere close to fusion. I should not try to search for the meaning of Indra in the space or on earth. I should try to search for the meaning of Indra in the stars. So then that is why we jump, I'm jumping now, we arrive at the conclusion that what is Indra? Indra is gravitational collapse. The power that triggers star formation, that is Indra. It will take more time to go into detail. Now let us understand Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Bhur Bhuva Swaha, the three Mahavyakritis, they are the three expressions. Prithvi's expression is Bhu, Antariksha's expression is Bhuva, Dyuloka's expression or manifestation is Swaha. I'll go quick. That is organisms. Prithvi expresses itself in the form of organisms. Space expresses itself or manifests itself in the form of the non-luminous celestial bodies. And the stars express themselves. Okay, the stellar realm expresses itself as the stars. So Bhur Bhuva Swaha are basically organisms, planets, and stars. So what we call as the three pindas, the organic bodies, the planetary bodies, and the stellar bodies. Organisms, planets, and stars. So that is why if you look at the Mahanarayana Upanishad, we come up with the mantras Bhuragne Prativyai Swaha, Bhuvar Vayave Antarikshaya Swaha, Swaradityaya Dive Swaha. And in our Havana, we have a very, the famous mantras Bhuragnaye Pranaya Swaha, Bhuvar Vayave Apanaya Swaha, Swaradityaya Vyanaya Swaha. Now we see that Pran, Apan, and Vyan have been associated again. So Pran, oxygen, Apan is helium, hydrogen is Vyan. How have we arrived at this? Technically, any oxidizer that helps for chemical reaction is prana. Oxygen being the best form of oxidizer is the representative element. Then we have apana, what is sent out and what hindrances life. Radiation is what hindrances life. So that is why it is apasaritam. It for prana, it apasaran. There's apasaran of prana. So it is radioactive emissions, also known as alpha particles. Alpha particles are nothing but nucleus of helium. Then hydrogen is Vyana, because that is what is vast. Around 92% of all atoms, number of atoms in the universe is Vyana. Scientific terminology, oxidizers, radioactive emissions, hydrogen. And for any redox reaction, we need an oxidizer. For any nuclear fission, there needs to be radiation. For any nuclear fusion, there needs to be hydrogen. So to summarize, the representative vital elements are oxygen, helium, and hydrogen. Now, how are these associated with Bhu, Bhuva, and Swaha? The inhabitants, what we have seen, the inhabitants, organisms, planets, and stars, how can they be associated with hydrogen fusion? That is, organisms with combustion, planets with radiation, stars with fusion. So, the first, if you look at the last part, hydrogen, stars, and fusion, that is easy because how does a star, how does it light up? What is the source of the light in a star? It is basically hydrogen undergoing fusion. So that is its thermal source. That is how the star is so hot. So we have fusion here. I'm going quick. Now, how can radiation and planets and radioactive emission be related? Interestingly, we know that the Earth and our planets are round. And why are they round? They are round because they have a heat source. What is the source of that heat? It is basically radiation. We have a radiation engine in the heart of all planets. If there was no radiation, the planet would never have been round. So, if you look at the planet, it is such an organized thing because of the sustainable heat there. So, okay, that is alpha particle. So, we have this. Now we look at organisms. Now, what does organism have to? Okay, stars are energized by fusion, planets are energized by radiation, accepted. How are organisms energized by combustion? There is no combustion in organisms. We don't see any fire in us. So, uh, what happens here is then we need to understand what is combustion. Combustion is hydrocarbons plus oxygen coming under reaction, releasing carbon dioxide, water vapor, and heat. How are we energized? In each and every cell of us, there is metabolism happening. Even in that metabolism, there is hydrocarbons going as food, there is oxygen going as air. They are getting processed in the form of metabolism, and all these processes. So, if you look at metabolism and combustion, they are basically the one and same process. That is why the students of science understand that metabolism is considered as a combustion process. Metabolism, fermentation, rust, they are all combustion processes. So it is true that it is Agni. So when we look at this trinity, we can come to understand that this trinity is absolutely correct. So we run by internal metabolic engines, all of that. So my time is up, I think. I'll take another 2 minutes, okay? I'll take another 2 minutes. So that is why if we look at it, there we have three forms of thermal evolution: Agni, Vayu, Aditya. And if you look at it, where Agni, if you look at the energy density, where Agni, all forms of Agni may be 1 to 1.5 is their energy density. But when we jump to radiation, it starts from 15,000 to almost 25 lakhs. That is 2.5 million times. So that is how Vayu is more powerful than Agni. And if we jump to fusion, that is almost 10 million, 1 crore times. So that is how Aditya is so much more powerful than, okay, I'll jump this, some information. Now, if you look at what modern science says, even modern science says that there are only 3 forms of thermal evolutions. The first form of thermal evolution is fusion. This is the beginning of space-time. Then we have Aditya coming, then we have Vayu coming, then we have Agni coming. So all of these have formed in the same process. Technically, primordial nucleosynthesis, cosmic background microwave radiation, redox reactions. So that means Agni, Vayu, Aditya. So these now we can start to form. Actually, we have only gone 1 or 2 steps and my time is up now. But if we start going further, we can start to understand that there is so intense amount of science here. Organisms, planets, and stars. But is this all what is science? Even beyond stars, we have something. What is there beyond stars? So to understand that, we know the 3 Vyakritis are extrapolated into the 7, the 3 Mahavyakritis are extrapolated into the 7 Vyakritis. This is where we get into even the higher science. To understand this, I'll just give you a glimpse because my time is over before I'm asked to leave. So, I just reverse the process to understand Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. So basically, all the prajas, all the organisms are the Bhuloka, all the planetary worlds are the Bhuvaha Loka, the stellar realm are the stars, then we have the primordial black holes, which are the center of the galaxy. Then these are all the individual bodies. Beyond this is a universal body. That is the Janaha Loka, the Tapaha Loka, the Satya Loka. Now, is this my imagination? Have I just drawn something out of these mantras? No, we get to the source of it. Yoga Sutra Vyasa Bhashya, Bhuvana Jnanam Surya Samyamat, Brahmas Tribhumiko Loka, Prajapatyas Tato Mahan, Mahendra Swarityukto, Divi Taraha, Bhuvi Prajaha. So they talk about these 3 Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha, 3 Mahavyakritis, which are extrapolated into the 7 Mahavyakritis, out of which they say the last 3, Satya, Tapaha, Janaha belong to the Brahmaloka, then the Prajapatya. So it is Brahmas Tribhumiko Lokaha, Prajapatyas Tato Mahan, Mahendraha Swaha Rityukto, Divi Taraha, Bhuvi Prajaha. So based on this, and what is the Prajapati Loka? Basically, at the center of galaxies, what we have massive supermassive black holes that are supposed to be billions to trillions of times more powerful than the sun. They are the Prajapati Loka, very massive, very powerful. So now we come to this. I'll end here. Here. So now we can understand. When we do this japa in the pranayama mantra, we do the japa, but are we really understanding the meaning? Actually, my presentation has to go till the Gayatri, but I have to stop here. But this I would just like to say, when we talk about bhuhu, bhuvaha, swaha, maha, tapaha, janaha, satyam, we are actually talking about the evolution or the devolution from where we have started, from the beginning of the Big Bang, and from where we have gone further and further, and now we are at the form of here. And if we want to go back, moksha, the realm of moksha is beyond this. This is the realm of the Parabrahma. This is the realm of the Aparabrahma, Brahmas Tribhumiko Lokaha. So this is the transcendental realm, this is the existential realm, and beyond this is this. So we say we are made out of stardust. So we are made out of this planet. The planet is made out of the stars. The stars are made out of the galactic centers. The galactic centers are made out of the matter-dominant universe. The matter-dominant universe is derived from the energy-dominant universe, E equals mc square. And that again is derived from the Planck epoch, which modern science doesn't know, is what we call the mind sphere or the Satyaloka Brahma, the Virat. So when we are talking about these, we are actually looking back at evolving ourselves to our origin. And even beyond that is the Parabrahma Loka. So I just wanted to, I'll end here and say how much of science is available in the Vedas, in our prarthanas that we every day do. So understanding this is primordial. And I think dissemination of this knowledge will help us attract the youth and show them our prarthanas, our Vedas come with a lot of scientific background. And that has been my humble opinion. I'm sorry of the time delay. Actually, I do this workshop for 1.5 hours for 3 sessions. But thank you again. And thank you very much. Thank you. Namaste.